the mapping. Mapping is nothing but a flow of data, defining the flow of data from source to target, and it contains transformations wherever you want to transform the data. Transformation is nothing but an object which Informatica provides to perform specific functions. So designer takes whatever you have written in the transformations to be transformed the data at runtime. As a transformation, when you define a transformation, it contains ports. Ports are nothing but columns like in tables. So in Informatica, data goes row by row of complete row data into the transformation. The data goes in, that is called input port. If the data goes out, that is called output port. And there is also a variable port we will discuss later. So if data comes in and goes out of this port unchanged, then it is called as input-output port. If you want to transform the data, that is, you want to calculate or modify the data, then you have to make it as output port only or a variable port. So this output port only, when you make it as output port only, then you can write the formulas in the editor box. Informatica supports different types of functions which you can use it to transform the data. Transformation is nothing but which modifies the data, which allows the data to be passed through, or you generate a new data in the transformation. Whatever you write in the transformation will be applied on the data by the integration service at the runtime. Then we discussed about execution of the workflow, execution of the mapping. So in the execution process, you need to create a session. When you create a session in Informatica, session is pertaining to a mapping. You associate it. This can be done using the client tool called Workflow Manager. In the Workflow Manager client tool, you have the session, which is set of instructions, default 90%. Then to execute the session, you will associate to a workflow. So when we created the session, we have seen that the session contains commit intervals by default. So when you executed the workflow, it failed because in the integration service, it has the information of selecting the data. How? In the source call for transformation, it will write the default select statement. And to load data into a target table in the session properties, by default is the insert. By default, it is insert, and the commit interval is set by default for 10,000 in the session properties of Informatica. So, because for the execution process, to do the ETL process, you need to extract the data. So we have created the session. In that, by default, in the properties you have insert. That's why the data can be inserted into the target. And the commit type is target-based commit. That will, after every 10,000 records, it will insert the commit. It will send a commit to the target table. As I said, when you execute a session through a workflow, it will create a log file. Log file name will be the session name.log, and the session log directory is $pm session log directory. So in Informatica, you have the session log file, and it will create the log file by itself at runtime. So yesterday we have seen integration service was having a problem of getting the data from that table because integration service was not knowing where the table exists. So when it exists, Where it exists, that can be provided by giving username, password and the connect string. That is what we call it as a connection. We'll create a connection and assign the connection to that session. This is the connections where we create the relational connections and all that stuff. Then in the mapping, you will do the connection. You will assign the connection for the source, the same way the target. So at runtime, based on these connections, it will go and connect to the source. As per your source qualified transformation, it will write the select statement and it will get the data from there. Onto the integration service machine, transforms the data, and row by row it will insert the data into the target table. That is what we have discussed yesterday, and we have loaded the data from the source to target by creating connections and assigning the connections. Now coming to Venkat's question, commit interval, does that mean every 10,000 records it will commit, or for every record it commits? It sends commit after every 10,000 records. Data is loaded row by row. Data into the target is loaded. Data into the target is loaded row by row. One row at a time. But commit, if you set the commit interval to 10,000, after every 10,000 records inserted or updated into the target, it will commit. It will send a commit. If the load has less number of records, when you are loading it has less number of records, less than 10,000, then after the last record is loaded, it will send the commit. Clear, Venkat? Yes, you can modify the commit intervals. It's up to you. You can change it. It is not hard coded. You can change it. By default, they will set it to 10. And row by row data will be loaded. Row by row data will be loaded into the target table. This is what we have discussed in yesterday's class. Do you have any questions on this? In what we have discussed? Now, internally what happened? When you have loaded the data into the target table, what happened internally? How does the process started? How it has been working on it? That's what will be the explanation today. And also we will discuss two mappings, simple mappings. Then we will discuss what is the source, if it is a flat file. So, integration service, internal process is a file processing. Integration service is a internal process, is a file processing, where people are, the graphical, this GUI is a graphical user interface. It looks like tables, but it is not tables. It's just for our convenience they have designed it like this. But when you load the data, integration service will do the loading process. Internal is file processing. So when after it takes the information from the repository, then goes to the source, extracts the data, puts it in a file, that we don't know. That is internal to Informatica organization. The files we cannot see actually. We will not be in a position to see those files while they are doing process. So which has a session pertaining to the mapping. When you execute it, what it will do? Integration service will go to the source database, use the connection which you have assigned, connects to the source, then extracts the data. As per the mapping which we have done, it will extract the data using select statement, that is the source qualifier which has a default select statement. We can modify that select statement also. Then integration service will process the data row by row and inserts into target using the connection. So row by row process, based on your session property, it will go and insert the data into the target but to insert to the target, it has to connect. So our assumption is, this is your source data, this is your source data. So we have created a source qualifier, expression, target. So this is your source qualifier, expression and target. The mapping which we have done yesterday, that is what my explanation for today's execution process. Now you created a session, you assign the connection, then you said execute. So when it executes, integration service will go to the source, connects there, and in the source qualifier default select statement, it will go and fire on the source database, extracts the data onto the integration service machine. I've shown you 5, but actually it will extract all the data. I've shown you 5 of space constraint, but it will extract all the 14 records. The table has 14 records, so it will extract all the 14 records. This is happening on the integration service machine, please. This is happening on the integration service machine. So this is your integration service. This was your client tools. This is your repository server. This is your repository. This is your integration service. So this is your client tool. This is your repository server. This is your repository. And this is your integration service. So my explanation is, this is your source database on Oracle. So you have the source database which has src_emp table. Then it has tgt_emp table. Whatever mapping you have created, that is in this repository, whatever session you have created, whatever workflow you have created, all that information is there in this repository. So integration service picks that information from this repository, and based on your connections which you have assigned, it will go and use that connections to connect to this source. Based on the select statement you have written, it will write the select statement on this database and extracts all the data onto the machine, this machine where you have installed integration service, extracts all the data from the source. 48 records or 14 million records, it will put it on the integration service machine. Then row by row, Informatica will process. The first record comes out of the source qualifier. This is representation for you. Internally, it will do file processing. So first record comes from that file, and as per your expression transformation, it will transform the data. So what is the transformation? 800 plus 0, that is your total salary. Goes out of the expression transformation, calculates it. Then based on your connection, it will connect to the database, into your target database, and based on your insert function, you have specified at the session property level that is stored in this repository, from where it will pick the information. Based on the insert, how it will write the insert statement? Based on the columns which are connected, ports which are connected to it, based on the table which has it, so it will write the select statement, insert statement by itself, like this. I'm not giving you the correct syntax, but just like this, insert into tgt_emp, whatever columns you specified, ename, department number, total salary, then we'll assign the values for it. Whatever the transformation data has come, so this will be assigned as 7369, comma, Smith, comma 20, comma 800, will be fired onto this database. So it will insert the data. Then second record is released from the source qualifier transformation, 1600 plus 300, transforms the data goes into the expression transformation, transforms the data, calculates the salary plus commission, then it will insert again. Then output of the second, third record, calculate salary plus commission, inserts again. Then fourth record, goes in, calculates, inserts again. Then fifth record, inserts again. This way it will go and insert the data into Informatica. So it will do row by row process. Extract the complete data by the processing is done row by row to load the data into the target table. And after it loads all the records, then if it is more than 10,000 records, then after every 10,000 records it will send the commit. If it is set the commit interval to 10,000. So this is what Informatica does in the internal process of execution. So brief about that execution process and everything. First you have to define the source, that is your Informatica, the designer tool. Then you define the target, that is in your target designer. Then you define the mapping, source transformation target using mapping designer. Then when you save that mapping, it will do any syntax errors. We'll check the validation of the mapping. Then along with the source transformation target information, whole thing will be saved into the repository. Whenever you save it, it will save. But I am just saying after you created the mapping, you save it, so it will save all the information into the repository. Then to execute the mapping, you create the processes, you create a session, associate the mapping to it. After that, you create the session, associate to a workflow. Send is nothing but set of instruction, default instruction, where should it create the log file, what is the name of the log file, commit intervals, insert statements, and when you want to execute a workflow in the repository, the integration service will take that mapping information from the repository and start executing that process, but it has to, how it will get the data, select statement is written in the source qualifier, insert statement is set in the target, commit interval is set in the session properties. So the challenge is where is that source? For that we need to create a connection. So to connect a SRC underscore EMP table and TGT EMP table, it should know, the integration service should know where it is. So we'll create a source connection to the database. So we'll create in the connect string connection, we'll create that connection for this using username, password and the connect string, and then in the mapping tab of the session properties, you will assign that connection. The same way you do it for your target, then you assign the connections. Then after it is assigned, when you execute it, it will go and connect to the source, extracts the data, complete data onto the server where it has been installed, row by row it will process, and finally it will insert the data as per the mapping, and it will send the commit interval on this. This is what is the internal process, or how Informatica as an ETL consultant, the flow of your work. So define the source, define the target, create the mapping, save the mapping, go to the workflow and the task developer, first create a session for it, associate it, and to execute a mapping through a session, session should contain connection information, so you use the source and target connections. Then integration service will take that information and based on the connections you assign it, it will go and extract the data, complete the data onto the server, row by row it will process, and it will load the data into the target table. This is the process of Informatica as a ETL developer you have to follow. Any questions, please? Now, let us discuss something. Here is a Oracle database. Yeah, defining connections. Answer to your question, Sita. You have to create connections for every user or a database. Connection should be created for every database pertaining to a user. One time. If you are using that, you are extracting the data or loading the data into the same database based on that user, use the same connection. Repeatedly you can use the connection. But is that username pertaining to the user information, name or password or a database change? For any three changes, any of these three changes, you have to create another connection. Now there is a concept, very clearly please understand this. This is your Oracle database. Server, this is Oracle database server. Now these are Oracle products like SQL Plus, or Oracle has a lot of products like Forms, Report Writer. All these are there in this. Now, if you observe it, to connect from SQL Plus or Forms or Oracle database, what you should provide? You should provide a username, password, and the connection. Like Toad also, you will provide it. So, I'm taking the example of SQL Plus. Scott, Tiger, ORCL. Scott, Tiger, ORCL is your host name. So you say OK. So it will connect to that database. How does that connection happen? How does the connection happen is, Oracle, this is your client product of Oracle. So how does they connect to that particular database is, the mechanism they have is, they will have a file called tnsnames.ora file. Whenever you install client product of Oracle, this file will be installed. So let me show you that file. For Oracle, this is your tnsnames.ora file, which is under wherever you install Oracle under network admin, this file will be there. So how does Oracle SQL Plus will log in? So what information you have given? Scott, Tiger, connecting ORCL. So what this SQL Plus will do is, it will first go to this tnsnames.ora file. So information about this database should be entered in this tnsnames.ora file. So you gave the host connection as ORCL. So it will scan this file. This is called entries. For every database, you have to make an entry. For every database. So for ORCL host string, it will go and scan this file. So it found ORCL. That is a name, a tag. Actual database name is also same in this example. So ORCL and ORCL. So it will have the name, a tag. You can have the same Oracle name, database name, or any other name you can have it. This is service name is Oracle. This is the database name. Who created it? When administrator installs Oracle database, he will create different databases. And where is this database on which machine name? That is called machine name or host name. On which machine this database has been installed? That will be identified by IP address of that machine, or they will give you a name. So in this case, on which machine? This is my machine. So Sanza-Toshiba is my machine name. So what it will do, when you connect it, it will go here, scan for ORCL, your connect string, In that it will scan for what is the table, what is the machine name on which that database is installed. So it will go and physically connect to that machine by name or IP address. Then on that machine, which database? A machine can have multiple databases. So your database name is ORCL. So your database name is ORCL. So based on this, it will go and connect to this database. First it will create the connection. Then it will pass the username password. Then it will pass the username password to that database. So then it will pass the username and password to that database. So internally, when you enter Scott Tiger and ORCL, ORCL is nothing but the tag or the name of the database. Where will it get the information? It will get it from this tnsnames.ora file. So your source is Oracle tomorrow, or target is Oracle tomorrow. If you have multiple databases, multiple entries should be made in this. So in this tnsnames.ora file, it will be connecting to the database. This is what the native product, same Oracle product, will connect like this. If Informatica or business objects like tools or Cosmos or any tools which they want to connect to the database, these products are called third-party tools like Informatica, business objects, Cosmos, MicroStrategy, any database to any database. If you want to connect, you cannot directly connect to a database. So there is a concept called ODBC, Open Database Connectivity. This is a small utility program. It is like a translator which will allow Informatica like tools through ODBC connect to the database. Informatica like tools you cannot connect directly to a database, so you use ODBC or JDBC, Open Database Connectivity. So through this third party tool, you will provide to this ODBC driver. First you will provide, these ODBC drivers are different for different databases. SQL Server is a different ODBC driver. Oracle is a different ODBC driver. There are different drivers like a translator. Hindi to English translator, French to English translator, Germany to English translator, or Germany to French translator. Like this you have different translators. So based on the database on which you are going to connect to Informatica, there are different ODBC drivers. They are called ODBC drivers or ODBC utility programs. So whenever you install Informatica client tool, along with it, it will install these ODBC drivers. How to use it, how to connect it, I will explain you in few minutes. So using this ODBC connection, this will go and connect it. So in the ODBC connection, it will give the information about Oracle database. So from Informatica, when it connects to the Oracle, to the ODBC, it is Informatica language, and it needs the database, it will take it. Now it has to connect to this database. Now it has to connect to this database. For that, it cannot connect directly. ODBC cannot connect directly to a database. How it will connect? Based on tnsnames.ora file. Based on tnsnames.ora file. Based on that, it will connect. So, direct Oracle products or Informatica or any other product, if they want to connect to Oracle, it is through tnsnames.ora. So this ODBC will pass on this ODBC driver, the database thing, then it will go and connect to the database based on your username password which you specify. I'll show you where you will specify. So Informatica or business objects or any tool, if it wants to connect to any database, it needs a ODBC driver or ODBC utility program. They have SQL Plus and Forms and all, they are native connection. They have directly connected, they don't need ODBC drivers. But they will connect through a tnsnames.ora file, third party tool, along with the ODBC, it will go and connect to the tnsnames.ora file. So this is the importance of tnsnames.ora file and ODBC drivers. So any product of Oracle which wants to connect to Oracle database, it is through the tnsnames.ora, and third party tool also can connect to a database, but they cannot directly connect, so they use ODBC utility programs which act like a converter, and that will specify the Oracle database name then you pass on username password. Based on that, it will convert. But it also needs to go to the TNS names.aura file and connect to the database. Now you may ask me a question. This is all fine, Vijay. But how did integration service went and connected to this database of source and target without giving ODBC drivers? I haven't specified any ODBC driver in this, but now you are telling that if Informatica needs to connect through ODBC, it has to be, if it connects a database, it has to be ODBC. Here, as soon as you create the connections, if you have observed it, as soon as you created the connection, I hope you observed one thing, connection, relational, new. Then it will ask which database, Oracle or Power Channel, whatever databases you are looking at. As soon as you select it, you create that connection, it will internally assign that ODBC driver. Whenever you use it, it will assign that ODBC driver internally. We will not be knowing it. So it will connect through a ODBC driver only to that SRC EMP table. But target also, it is Oracle database, so it has to connect through a ODBC driver. Inbuilt in integration service when you execute it. So clear everybody about the ODBC driver TNS names.aura file, importance of it. Have clarity, please. If you have any questions, you can ask me, because you should have this clarity because we are going to work on databases. This is inbuilt. Automatically it will do it. But still it has to connect to ODBC drivers only. So inbuilt, they created inbuilt drivers. Now, let us come to our class of discussion. First mapping, I call it as business case. To explain Informatica as a tool, we created business cases. About 15 business cases will be there. So, first mapping is asking it to extract data from SRC manufacturer and load it into TGT manufacturer's table. I have given you the mapping specification document. So this is the case. It needs extract data from source and load the data into this target. So as per our business logic, what we should do, as per our Informatica process, first we need to define the source and define the target. We need to define the source and define the target. Now Informatica, I'm in the designer tool, please. First step is to define the source. You can clear all. If you have multiple tables here and you want to clear these things, you can say right click and say clear all. Do not delete it. Now, first step of creating a source is the other day you created it. That type of creating a source structure is called as manual. That is manual creation. But in projects or anywhere, you already know the source database. We need to define the source structure which is in the source database, that is TGT SRC underscore manufacturers. So to define in Informatica, one way is source, create, give a name to it, then start creating it, which is a cumbersome effort because you may have 40 tables. So you are going to create 40 tables with 20 columns. You may miss the spellings and many issues will come up. So what Informatica provides you is source, import from database. Import the structure, not the data. You import from the database means you import the table structure from the database. So from designer tool, if you want to connect to this source database from Informatica designer tool, as I said before, whenever you want to connect to any database from Informatica or business objects to any of the databases, this is on Oracle. It cannot connect directly. In this case, it has inbuilt capability. Now from the Informatica designer tool, if you want to connect it, You cannot directly connect it. In between you need ODBC connection. In between you need ODBC to do the converter, to connect to that database, to get that definition only, structure only, import the table structure only, not the data. So Informatica designer cannot connect directly to it. So it will use a ODBC driver, and it needs a TNS names.ora file, entry for that source, which we have already. Then it will go and physically connect to this database. So you have TNS names.ora file. So Informatica designer will connect through the ODBC to import the structure only, please. Definition only, definition of the source only. But Informatica, to define the structure, it has to go and get from the database. To getting from the database is called import from database. Now based on ODBC driver. Because you need to connect to that database. So how will you do it? First you need to assign a ODBC driver to it. To assign that ODBC, this is the button. Then it has three types: user DSN, system DSN, and file DSN. We will use system DSN. Difference between user, file, and system we'll discuss later. So we will use, for today, we use system DSN. Now we need to assign a ODBC driver. These ODBC drivers are installed on Informatica client tool when you on your machine along with the client tools. When you install Designer, Workflow Manager, Workflow Monitor, client tools, along with it internally it will install ODBC drivers for different databases. Now we need to select Oracle ODBC driver because we are connecting to Oracle database. So you say add. We'll create one ODBC driver. Using one ODBC driver, we'll assign a name. So here we will use Microsoft ODBC for Oracle. Sometimes Oracle ODBC is not working fine. Sometimes we felt it. So we use Microsoft ODBC, Microsoft product of converting Oracle program, Oracle converter ODBC driver. Say finish. Give a name to it. SD14 source. No need of username, password, username, server and all. Sorry, username and description. Server means give the connect string. That is the internally based on that connection of the connect string, the force string or the connect string, which you assign it. Based on that, it will go and connect to the database through the TNS names.ora file only. Say OK. Now, from this drop-down box, you select the source which I have created. Source underscore student is username, password read only. So, when you say connect using that ODBC driver, that is Microsoft ODBC for Oracle, it will know what is the database to be connected. So, it will scan the DNSnames.ora file. Based on the DNSnames.ora file, it will physically connect to the database. Then it will pass on this username, password. So, it will connect. So, these are the ODBC program. So, what table we need? SRC underscore manufacturers. You say OK. This is your source connection. You will get only the import the table structure. You can import the table structures like this. So using the ODBC driver, you connect to the database to get the definition only. Then when you save it through the repository service, it will go and save in the repository database. Please open your sheet and write these connections, page number 11. You please write down this and let me know when you are done. Type of ODBC is system DSN, driver is Microsoft ODBC for Oracle. Data source name, you give it as your name underscore source, and the server is source. Now, what you do, is how to do it. I'll explain once more. Source, import from database. Here is the button. So this is ODBC drivers, system DSN, add, select the driver, which driver you want, that is Microsoft ODBC for Oracle, then give a name to it, SP14. No need to give anything except the ORCL. For me it is ORCL, for you it is source, and you say OK. Then give the username password. Just you enter the username and you hit tab. That owner name is for, if you are using same username, password for different schemas. On the same database, if you are accessing different schemas with the same username password, then you have to change that owner name. But here it is the same. Then give your password and say connect. Then it will connect to that database and you can select your own table, whichever you want to import it. Now, as per your Informatica, you need to load data into a target table, so import from. Now we will define the structure of the target. That is, for target database, for every different databases, you need to create different ODBC driver. It may be on Oracle, but different database. So mine is for TGT. So system DSN, add Microsoft ODBC for Oracle, give a name to it, SB14 underscore target. I'm talking about target database. For me it is ORCL, for you it is different, which I will tell you. So you create a connection. Now the connection is SB14 target, give a name. For me it is target, connect. So what is your source? Target, TGT, manufacturers. Then save your work. So you define the source, you define the target. So open your sheet. Please write down this. First ODBC connection for 4.71, you write down this. Then let me know. Then I will, please create the connection for this target also, target ODBC connection. And using that ODBC connection, you connect to the target database to import the table structure. So please write it in 4.7.2 using the ODBC connection, username, password. Don't relax, please. Please write it down. I understand it is what is there to write and you may get bit pissed off by writing all this, but believe in me, when the training is completed, when you want to look at it, you will have a very clear idea what you have done, how you have done and all that stuff. So please remember that. So don't take screenshots of this and think that I'll take a printout of it. That will not work. A lot of people tried this and they failed, but nobody will accept it. So don't take screenshots. Will not help you. Listen to more to the class. You are done with this? So now, as per our Informatica process, we need to define the source, we need to define the target, then we need to create a mapping. The mapping is M_1, simple mapping, that's why I put it as simple, and the target table name. Where can you see these names? In the document. We have provided the mapping name here. So this is your mapping. So import your table structure and the target, source and the target. This is very simple mapping. So you connect it from source and save your work. These are simple mappings. So mapping, you have created the mapping. This is your target. You drag your source along with it. Source qualifier has come. So at runtime, the source qualifier will fire the select statement onto the database based on your database which you provide. Then it will extract the data. Simple mapping this is. Then I will create a session for this in the workflow manager under the task developer, task create session s_mapping name, create, assign that mapping. Now what is the next step you have to do? By default, it is insert, no issues, commit interval, mapping, tab, assign the source and target connections. Assign the source and the target connections. So what is the source connection here? Source SB14. Where you are going to load target, target SB14. We are looking into it. Yasim, but we haven't come across, we haven't looked at it in our experience, but we'll try to find out if there any way for a particular user. It should be user specific basically. So we will look into it and let you know. Okay, Yasin? In normal work environment, this is the way we create connection. Because basically in projects, how many mappings you have? 10 to 20 mappings, maybe 30 mappings. So people just go and connect it and do it. We tried many ways because you have to select it from this list box. In the training, you see so many connections. But for that folder, when in the projects, for that folder only, whoever is there, it will show you up. In that project, in that repository you will be working on, so you will be only, your team only will see those 3-4 connections. So there we didn't feel the problem of connection because only 2 connections or 3 connections they create and keep it. Here in the training we are facing this problem because all people have their own connections because they have different folders for them. So you are able to see it. That what is the challenge. Practically in projects, you assign it. It will be there like this only you will do it. Target load type, normal, source connection, target connection, normal, then workflow designer, then we'll create a workflow for this. If I am going fast, please let me know. In the assumption you have created yesterday, there is not much explanation in this. So, because your source is a relational table, you have to use a source qualifier transformation. It will write its own default select statement. Now open your sheet. Please write down this connection session name and source connection name so that I will execute in the next few minutes. I will execute the workflow, start workflow. So let me share you the workflow monitor, sorry. So if you look at the succeeded, if you look at the properties, it has extracted 11 rows and loaded 11 rows into the target. Let me go to the target and check the data. Select the star from TGT manufacturers. So it has loaded the data of 11 records into the target table. Same way, we need to extract data from SRC distributors and load the data into TGT distributors, simple mapping. So first step, when you create a mapping, you need to define the source structure, source, import from database. You don't need to create a ODBC connection again, whatever, because you are connecting to the same database. If you are connecting to a different database, then you have to create a different ODBC connection. So source, SP14, username, password, same ODBC connection, you assign it and import the table structure, SRC distributors. Then target, import from database, same target ODBC connection. You don't need to create once again the ODBC and TGT distributors. You are going to load into TGT distributors, so you define the target table structure as TGT distributors. Then mapping, create M underscore 2 underscore simple underscore TGT underscore distributors. So drag your source, drag your target. A source is a relational table, so you will use source qualified transformation. Then validate it. So same ODBC connection, you import the source and the target ODBC connection target, source ODBC connection source. Save your work. So open your sheet. Please write it down in 5.7.1 using the ODBC connection, username, password, and the target connections. So go to the sessions, properties, you write the session name, same source connection, target connection, and the workflow name. You may ask me why source big names like simple and all. I want it because when you look at the names itself, you can remember them that it is simple mapping we have done. So when you recall it, it will be easy for you. For that purpose only we have created this simple, and if not, it would have been just a TGT distributors. So let me go to the workflow, task developer, clear all, create a session. Then assign the connections, source connection, SP14, target connection, SP14, change bulk to normal. Give the source connection, which I have written. You give the target connection, which you have done already. Change bulk to normal, and you say OK. This is your session you have created under the task developers. Under the workflow designer, create a workflow for this. Give a name, session name, and save it. So source for source connection, target connection, change bulk to normal, then create a workflow, start. So it has loaded the data into the target table, succeeded. So let me go and check the data, select a star from TGT, distributors. So it has loaded the data into this. So this is how you create the mapping and execute it. Any questions still here, please? Please respond. If you have any questions, please ask. Uh, Now we will discuss about flat files. Have you received any mail regarding flat files? Have you got any mail from Sujay? Any email pertaining to flat files? So I'll ask Sujay to send you flat files. Yeah. As soon as he comes, he will send you the files. I'll let you know. Now the discussion point is, your source is a file which has to extract data from a file and load the data into a target table. Data is in a file. So what is a file? Any file which contains data, they call that as flat files. A file which contains data, they call that as flat files. Employee ID, employee name, address 101, Vijay, HOID 102, Sunil, Secunderabad. So this is, if you save this, this is a file with the data. This is called a flat file. A file which contains the data is called as a flat file. So what is the business requirement is, I'll show you in a minute. This is a file with the data. This is a source file. Mapping requirement is extract the data from the file called Nelson.file, that file, and load it into this target table. That is the business requirement. What is a file? File which contains the data is called as a flat file. But if you look at this data, you cannot understand it. It may be single column or three columns, we don't know. So each column will be separated. Each column will be separated, which were called as separators, like a comma separator, semicolon separated, or tab separator. So each field will be separated in the file, like employee ID, comma, e-name, comma, sal, comma, address, comma, like this. So 101, comma, Vijay, comma, Hyderabad. 102, comma, Sunil, comma, Chennai. So a file will have a separator like this. This is called separator files or delimiter files. Separator files or delimiter files. Depends on separator file or delimiter files. But in a file you can have only one separator. To create files in mainframe or in Oracle database, there are utility programs. Manually they won't create it, there are utility programs. So you have employee ID. Sometimes your file will have, I'm hitting on a tab. Sometimes your files are called as tab delimiter files, comma delimiter files like this. So you have employee ID, you hit a tab, e-name, tab, address, 101 tab, Vijay, tab, Hyderabad, 102, Sunil, you hit a tab, Chennai. This is called a tab delimiter file. So separator or delimiter file or comma separator. But each file can have only one separator and a format in that. These are called separator files. Or how to create a file separator? Let's go and explain. I'll explain it. Now this is Oracle database. You have a data like this. Save as. There are utility programs, shell scripts can be written to see that file. So these are utility programs. I am showing you how they create a file. This is the data in a table. I say OK. I created a file which I stored on my local machine on my desktop. This is the data of manufacture table. I created this file which is called a tab delimiter. This file is a tab delimiter file. You can set different types of delimiters in projects, in files, but only one delimiter will be used in a file. These type of files are called as flat files. These type of files are called as flat files. So there can be a file which are comma separator or tab delimiter separator. You may call it a separator or you may call it as delimiter. Then there are other types of files which are called fixed width files. Means every column will be of fixed width. Every column is of fixed width file. Let us say, I say this file is 8 characters fixed. So how is the file looks like? Employee ID, 5 characters. Then there will be space 6, 7, 8. E-name, 5 characters, 6, 7, 8. Address, carriage written. So 101, you have 3 characters, but it is set 8. So there will be spaces. There will be spaces in this padded. Space padded, it will be 5 character Vijay. So 6, 7, 8. Hyderabad. 102, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8. Sunil. 5, 6, 7, 8. Chennai. Like this. This is called fixed width file. Every field will be of fixed length. So you may have separator files or fixed width files. Informatica supports both type of these files is to extract data from a file or to load data into a file. Informatica extracts data from a file or from a loads into a file. Your source can be a file, flat file, or you can also load data into a target, which can be a flat file. So flat files are nothing but which contain data, in a formatted way. You may call it Word document also a file. Yes, accepted. But you cannot get the data from a Word document. So it may be a XLS file or anything, a file which is format like separator file, or you may call it as delimiter file. Then the second one is called fixed width files. So this type of format only Informatica can in the data into and can load the data into it. This is about flat files. Clear everybody about flat files? Sita, are you clear? So in projects you will get a situation where you have to use flat files as source. Now in our business case, I couldn't get you as in which component means. Let me complete this mapping, then I'll come to your question. So business requirement is to extract data from Nelson.dat file and load it into target company underscore tax ID file. What is the first step in our Informatica design process? Define the source structure. Here the source is a flat file. So how to do it? Go to the source analyzer. One way of creating sources is manual. That is, you can create a flat file manually also. Structure, not the data. You can create the structure like a first mapping, first SRC underscore EMP table. You have defined the structure of the table that was manual. Here also flat file, you can create it manual, but nobody does in the projects. Then how to define it? You import the file. You import the file structure. You import the file structure. Now, this is where the file. So in projects or in the lab, whenever your source is a flat file, whenever your source is a flat file, source or target is a flat file, to define the structure of the file, define the source as a file, then the convention is, the Informatica process is, this file whose structure you want to import it with the sample data should be on your local machine, When you execute it, what should be done? I will explain you tomorrow. Today's agenda is to define the source as a flat file. You are defining the source as a flat file, that is by importing the file structure. To import the file structure, whichever file you are going to use, that file along with the sample data should be on your local machine, So, Sujay will going to send you the files, Nelson.dat file, that you store it for all of us, we'll store it under C:class_example. So under C:, you all go and create the path for C:class examples directory you created. Sujay will send you the files with the data that you put it under this directory, for the lab purpose. But the process in Informatica is, the file can be of fixed width or separator files. You can have it as your source or target. When you are defining the structure of the file, definition, you can do it manual for a flat file. The other way is you can import the file structure. For that, you need the file with the sample data on your local machine directory. So, a flat file on your local machine directory. So when you say import, sources import from file, here you go to the path C:. Already you create that class_examples. Under that you have Nelson.dat file. You say OK. Then Informatica provides you with a 3-step wizard to import the file structure. So your file is fixed width or delimited. It is delimited file or separator file. It can be separated by comma or a tab or whatever. That is separator or delimiter means the same. Or fixed width. Mine is delimited file. Nelson.dat file is a tab delimited file. This is a tab delimited file. Nelson.dat file is a tab delimited file. So, is it a delimited? Yes. Do you want to import the column names? Do you want to import the field names from the first line? If you want it, you say OK. Then data will be imported from the second row. Then next step. Is it a tab delimited or comma delimited or semicolon delimiter or space delimiter or other means you can use, like pipe symbol is a other. So you can use that. So different delimiters you can use. In our case it is tab delimiter. And next, based on the data types, it will guess the based on the data it will guess the data type. Based on the data it will guess the 3 types of data types: text, numeric and datetime. If you have to convert to other format, then you use expression and convert it. So text, numeric and datetime are the 3 formats, 3 data types it will guess. That's why it needs a sample data. Then you say finish. So it will define the source structure. This is your structure of your source. Flat file as a source. I'll do it once again for you. Source import from file. Go to C:class underscore examples and select that Nelson.dat file. Say OK. Informatica provides you with a 3-step wizard. First step, delimiter or fixed width. It is a delimited file. You want to import the field names from the first line. You start import row as 2 or 2. For in this example, it is 2. You can change that as per your business, as per your file requirement. At this file requirement, you have to import it from the second line. Why it is showing first? Because you said import the field name from the first line. Then you say next. Then put the delimiter, whichever the delimiter you wanted. For us, it is tab delimiter. Then you say next. Based on the data, it will guess the data types. Text, numeric, and date time. Already I imported, so I say skip. So this is how you define your source structure. Any questions on this, please? No, we haven't created the structure by ourselves. In projects, you will get it from the people who are going to use it. We don't create it. We'll import the file. Or you want to define manually the structure. Manually means just simple. That was your question before. Which component do you use to select the flat files? That is different, right? Okay, first I will take this. I answered it. So, define manually as source, create. You give it in this drop down box. First class you created it. You took Oracle as a database. Here you take this as flat file. Give a name and create it. The structure. Why we ask for sample data? Because customer has to queue that file with the data he did. Okay, fine. So, you define the source. Now I'll define the target. From my target database, TGT underscore company underscore tax ID is my target table. Create a mapping. M underscore 3 underscore put flat file, because you will understand it better that the flat file mapping it is TGT company underscore tax ID. So you drag your source, that is your flat file. You drag your target, that is your flat file, target table. As it is, you can connect it. There is no transformation rules. Then arrange all, save. So open your sheet, write this one. With this, I am done for today. The file should be on C:class example. So Sujay will send you the file. Meanwhile, you can do the mapping of other mappings. Simple mappings to ODBC connection. You do it by the time he will send you this file. But they are saying they didn't receive it. I asked them, Sujay, that's what they were saying. Now you got it. He sent it now, Okay. So you are done. With this I am done for today. Any questions, please? Yeah. There was some delay. Have you written this, please? Okay then. If you are done,